Hi, I'm Gabrielle Weiss, a senior sales executive with Paychex here in Ottawa. I've just wrapped up a meeting with Hydro Ottawa where I presented our Paycheck Flex enterprise solution. As a municipally owned utility with approximately 790 employees, everything we discussed needed to align with a highly accountable public sector environment. I met directly with Marco Dubé, who leads people and culture. He plays a key role in workforce strategy, labor relations, and overall HR operations. So, our discussion was heavily focused on operational efficiency and reliability. Mark Ferdinand wasn't able to join today due to a cybersecurity matter, but he had already reviewed our proposal and shared several technical and integration related questions ahead of time, which we were able to address in the meeting. During the conversation, the objective was clear. Position Paycheck Flex Enterprise as a solution that strengthens payroll accuracy, improves workforce visibility, and supports the broader operational requirements, while moving the opportunity forward. By the end of the meeting, we were able to align on the next steps and prepare to move into the formal evaluation. So now, let's take a closer look at how that conversation unfolded.
Marco, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. I really appreciate it, especially knowing how busy things are. Before we jump in, how's your work week going so far?
Thanks, Gabrielle. It's been a busy week as usual. We're in the middle of some organizational planning right now, so there's a lot going on, but I'm glad we can make this work.
I can only imagine. It sounds a lot like there's a lot of momentum on your side, which honestly makes the timing for this conversation perfect. And I know Mark was planning on joining us today. Is everything all right on his end?
Yeah, Mark sends his apologies. He was pulled into an urgent cybersecurity review this morning. One of those things you can't really push off. But he did go through the proposal and he sent me questions he would like answered.
Oh no. Well, I appreciate him taking the time to review everything. We will make sure to cover his questions today, and I'm happy to follow up with him directly afterwards as well. Before we get started, I just want to share a little bit about why Paycheck is well positioned for a conversation like this. Paycheck has been operating since 1971 and currently supports over 740,000 clients. We process payroll for roughly 1 in every 12 private sector employees across North America. What I think is most relevant for Hydro Ottawa is our governance and security framework. We hold SOC 1 Type 2, SOC 2 Type 2, and relevant iOS certifications, along with NACA certified status for payment processing. We've also been recognized as one of the world's most ethical companies for its 17th consecutive year. For an organization like yours, where public accountability and data protections are essential, those aren't just credentials, they're commitments. The reason why I reached out to your team originally was that based on our preliminary conversation, along with the review of Hydro Ottawa's 2024 annual report and the 2026 to 2030 business plan, it's clear that your organization is focused on digital transformation, operational modernization, and maintaining strong government oversight. Payroll and workforce management sits right at the center of those priorities. And I believe Paycheck Flex can support Hydro Ottawa in strengthening those areas. That's really why we're here today, to explore whether it's a good fit for your team or not. Marco, to start, could you walk me through how payroll and employee administration are currently handled at Hydro Ottawa? I'm thinking about things like the systems you're using, how many people are involved in the process, and how that connects to your reporting responsibilities.
Sure, right now we manage payroll through a combination of our existing systems and manual processes. We have a small team within people and culture that operates payroll processing, employee records, benefit coordinations, and reporting. With about 790 employees across multiple classifications, full-time, part-time, and unionized, it's quite a bit to manage. And because we're publicly accountable, we have to produce detailed reports for total leadership, the board, and the city council regularly.
That's helpful context. Thanks. It sounds like your team is managing a significant volume of work across a complex workforce. Just to make sure I understand correctly, your team is handling payroll processing, employee records, benefits, and governance reporting, all with a relatively lean staff. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, that's right. We get it done, but it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, well, with all that on your team's plate, what would you say the biggest challenges or inefficiencies you're experiencing right now with how payroll and HR administration are managed?
I would say the biggest challenge is the amount of manual work involved. A lot of our processes still require manual data entry and verification, which takes time and increases risk of errors. We've had a few situations where small errors in payroll processing created issues that took a lot of time to correct. On top of that, our reporting process is quite labor intensive. Pulling together accurate, audit ready reports takes longer than it should.
I appreciate you sharing that. When those kind of errors come up or when reporting takes longer than expected, how does that ripple across the organization? I'm thinking more like impact on the team's workload or the pressure around audit timelines and board reporting deadlines.
It definitely adds pressure. When a payroll error happens, it affects employee trusts. People expect to be paid accurately and on time, and rightfully so. For my team, it means that they're spending time correcting issues instead of focusing on strategic work. With our reporting obligations, any delays create risks around compliance and governance timelines. Especially after the labor disruption in 2023, there's been a greater internal focus on operational reliability and employee confidence.
So, what I'm hearing is that the manual workload isn't just an efficiency issue, it's creating real pressure around accuracy, compliance timelines, and employee confidence. Would that capture it well?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, if those challenges were reduced, like if payroll processing times were cut in half, if errors were minimized through automation, and if reporting could be generated directly from the system rather than assembled manually, how do you think that would change things for your team and organization overall?
That would be a meaningful improvement. It would free up my team to focus on higher value work, things like employee development, workforce planning, and supporting organizational priorities. Would also reduce our risk exposure around compliance and make it much easier to meet our reporting obligations. Honestly, it would give us more confidence in the accuracy and reliability of our workforce data.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that, Marco. It's incredibly helpful. What you've described aligns closely with what we've seen in similar organizations, and it confirms exactly why I believe the Paycheck Flex platform is well positioned to support Hydro Ottawa. Let me share my screen and I can walk you through how the platform addresses each of these areas. Great. Are you able to see my slides?
Everything looks good.
Perfect. Just to make the best use of your time, let me quickly confirm our agenda for the rest of our meeting, and I'd like to start by walking you through how Paycheck Flex addresses your needs, looks at the platform capabilities, covers Mark's questions, and then we can discuss the next steps. Does this approach work for you?
Sounds good, Gabrielle. Let's go ahead.
Great. So, Marco, based on everything we've discussed and the analysis we've completed, here's what we're proposing. Hydro Ottawa will realize greater payroll accuracy, reduce administrative workload, and improve HR support by implementing the Paycheck Flex enterprise. Let me put some numbers to that. With approximately 790 employees processed across 26 biweekly pay cycles, that's over 20,000 payroll transactions per year. We project that payroll processing time can be reduced by up to 50% throughout automation. Your team would recover approximately 78 hours annually in administrative time alone, which at $42 per hour, which is the median wage for HR professionals in Ontario, it translates to roughly $3,276 in recaptured capacity. On top of that, system-driven compliance updates are expected to reduce regulatory cost exposure by $10,000 to $20,000 annually. Combined, we're looking at a projected annual savings of $13,000 to $23,000 against a platform investment of $28,000 to $47,000. That positions Hydro Ottawa for a positive return within 12 months of full deployment. Now, let me walk you through the core capabilities of the platform and how each one connects to what you've shared today. First, I want to highlight how the platform's automated payroll processing directly addresses the manual workload you described. As you can see on this slide, Paycheck Flex consolidates payroll processing, HR administration, employee records, benefit management, and reporting into a single integrated system. Instead of relying on separate tools and manual data entry, everything operates within one platform. What this means for your people and culture team is that payroll calculations, deductions, and statutory filing are handled automatically, reducing the manual effort that's currently creating risk around accuracy. The integrated reporting tools allow you to generate audit-ready reports directly from the system rather than assembling them manually. And The employee and manager self-service portal gives your staff direct access to pay statements, tax forms, and personal records, which reduces the volume of routine inquiries your team has to handle. So, in summary, this slide shows how platforms directly support the operational efficiencies, accuracies, and reporting improvements that you've identified as priorities. And it's designed to give your team time back while improving the reliability of your payroll processes. Marco, before I continue, I just want to make sure that we're covering this at the right level for you. Would you prefer that I go into greater detail of the technical and integration and security side, or would it be more helpful to focus on the operational and workforce impact for your team specifically?
I think the operational focus is more useful for me, but I do want to make sure we address Mark's questions about security and integration at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me cover the operational benefits first, and then we can walk through the security and integration points that Mark raised. That way we address both perspectives. So as you can see here, the platform supports each stakeholder differently. For your people and culture team, it's about accuracy and reduced workload. For Mark's digital transformation team, it's about cloud architecture and certified security. And lastly, for Michelle's legal team, it's about compliance, audit ready, documentation, and transparent service agreements. If we move on to the next slide here, one thing that sets Paychex apart is the support we provide beyond just implementation. I want to show you an example of how we help organizations manage the internal communication around the platform transition. Here is a sample of employee communication flyer that we could develop in collaboration with your people and culture team. It's designed to introduce Paychex Flex to employees, explain what's changing and why, and highlight the key benefits they'll experience, like the self-service access to pay statements and a more streamlined payroll process. The reason why this matters is that a payroll transition affecting 790 employees needs to be clear and consistent through communication to be able to be successful. The kind of material reduces confusion, builds employee confidence in the transition, and supports your team by minimizing the amount of questions that come in during the rollout. So this flyer is one example of the promotional and internal launch supports that's included with the Paychex service model, and it's not an extra cost. It's part of how we ensure a smooth transition. Now you mentioned that Mark had some questions from the technology side. Would this be a good time that we can address those?
Yeah, now's a great time. Mark's main concerns were around the system integration. So how Paychex Flex would connect with our existing IT infrastructure and data security. He wanted to understand what kind of protections are in place for your employee data.
Yeah, those are great questions to be asking, especially in your environment. On the integration side, Paychex Flex is built on a cloud-based architecture that's designed to work alongside existing enterprise systems. It doesn't require local installation, and it's accessible through standard web browsers and approved mobile devices. So the platform is designed to integrate with existing HR and financial systems. So the data flows between platforms is streamlined rather than soiled. On the security side, all data transmission is conducted through encrypted channels, access controls, continuous system monitoring, and data encryptions that are built into the platform's architecture. These aren't optional add-ons, they're core to how the system operates. As I mentioned earlier, we maintain all the certifications you see here, and I would be happy to help provide Mark with our full technical security documentation and arrange a direct conversation with our enterprise technology team to walk you through any specific requirements Hydro Ottawa may have. Do you think that addresses Mark's main concerns, or are there additional areas he'd want us to explore?
No, I think that covers it for now. The certifications are reassuring, and I know Mark would appreciate that direct follow-up conversation. So, Gabrielle, I appreciate everything you've shown me. I do have some concerns though. Implementing a new payroll system sounds like it could be quite disruptive for our operations. We can't afford any gaps in payroll processing. Our employees and our board demands consistency.
Yeah, that's a completely valid concern, Marco, and I hear often from organizations like yours where operational continuity is non-negotiable. The last thing anyone wants is a disruption to payroll during a transition. Can I ask, has Hydro Ottawa experienced challenges with system integration in the past? That would help me understand what specific aspects of implementation concerns you the most.
Yeah, we've had some technology rollouts in the past that took longer than expected and created frustrations internally. So there's definitely some concerns around major system changes.
Yeah, I understand. That's exactly why Paycheck uses a structured four-phase implementation process designed specifically to prevent disruptions. We start with the discovery and configuration phase where we define your payroll structures and requirements. Then we do a secure data migration and validation phase to make sure everything transfers accurately. But the key safeguard is phase three, parallel processing, where we run payroll through both your existing system and Paycheck Flex simultaneously. This means we verify everything is accurate before you fully transition. And throughout the entire process, a dedicated implementation specialist is assigned to Hydro Ottawa's account to coordinate with your HR, IT, and legal teams. The whole timeline is approximately 8 weeks, and payroll continues uninterrupted throughout. Do you think knowing that both systems run side by side before you switch over help address your concerns?
Yes, actually, the integrated processing is reassuring. I think that would go a long way with our team. I'll be honest, Gabrielle, our current system isn't perfect, but it does work. We've been using it for a while, and there's always a question of whether switching is worth the effort.
Yeah, I completely understand. And I respect it. Being familiar with a system has real value, and I would never suggest making a change just for the sake of making a change. But when you think about where your current system falls short, such as the manual workload, the reporting challenges, the accuracy concerns that you mentioned, would you say that those are things that your current platform can solve? Or do you think those are limitations of how the platform is built?
I think those are structural. We've tried to work around them, but the system just wasn't designed for the complexity we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, and that's really the key distinction here. Paycheck Flex was built specifically for organizations managing complex multi-classification workforces in regulated environments. The automation, the integrated reporting, the compliance management, these are core to the platform. So rather than working around limitations, your team would be working within a system designed to support exactly what you need. Does it make sense to at least evaluate how the two platforms compare so you can make an informed decision based on the full picture?
Yeah, I think that's a fair next step. We owe it to ourselves to look into this properly.
Okay, great. Margot, I just want to say again, I really appreciate the openness and depth of our conversation today. Before we talk about the next steps, I'd just like to summarize what we've covered to make sure we're completely aligned. So today you confirm that Hydro Ottawa is managing a complex workforce of approximately 790 employees with significant manual payroll and administrative processes. You have identified that this creates challenges around processing accuracy, reporting timelines, and your team's capacity for strategic work. You also shared that employee confidence and operational reliability are important priorities, especially given the organizational focus on modernization and governance. We discussed how Paycheck Flex addresses these areas through automated payroll processing that can reduce processing time by up to 50%, integrated reporting that can support your audit and board reporting requirements, and a platform architecture that meets enterprise security standards, including the SOC and iOS certifications that Mark's team would need to see as well. We also discussed the projected return on investment, annual savings of 13 to 23,000 and a positive return expected within the first 12 months of deployment. You also indicated that the structured implementation approach, particularly the simultaneous processing phase, would address concerns around operational disturbances. Do you think that summary captures everything that we discussed today?
Yeah, I think that's a fair and accurate summary of where we are.
Perfect. So I just want to say thank you so much again, Marco. Based on what we've discussed today, I do believe that there's a strong alignment between what the Paycheck Flex offers and where Hydro Ottawa is headed. The next steps would be to schedule a follow-up meeting, ideally during the week of April 20th, where we could bring Mark and Michelle into the conversation. At that meeting, we would review the formal proposal in detail. We can walk through the pricing structure and the implementation timeline and address any additional questions from the technology and legal team. Would you be open to scheduling that follow-up meeting so we can continue moving this forward?
I think that makes sense. Let me connect with Mark and Michelle. We'll find a time that works for everyone during that week. I think they'll want to be a part of this conversation.
That's excellent, Marco. I'll send over a meeting confirmation along with the full proposal documentation, the technical security overview for Mark's review, and a summary of what we've discussed today so everyone is up to speed before we start the next meeting. I just want to thank you so much again for your time today, and I am looking forward to continuing this conversation with the full team.
Thank you, Gabrielle. This was a really productive conversation, and I appreciate your thoroughness.
Thank you, Marco. I hope you have a great rest of your day.